In the chapter Acids, Bases and Salts, we study three concepts, that is Arrhenius concept, Lorry Bronsted concept and Lewis concept. According to the Arrhenius concept, acid is a substance that gives a proton in water or aqueous solution, and base is a substance that gives OH negative, that give a hydroxide ion in water or aqueous solution. Let's first discuss the base. The NaOH dissociates in aqueous solution in water and give Na positive and OH negative, whereas the acid gives its proton to the water and form H3O positive, hydronium ion and chloride ion. Why the HCl does not dissociate like the base? According to the Arrhenius concept, NaOH is a substance that in aqueous solution dissociates into Na positive and OH negative. A base is a substance that gives OH negative in aqueous solution. So, acid is also a substance that gives H positive in aqueous solution. But here what happens that when HCl dissociates in the presence of aqueous solution in the presence of water in H positive and Cl negative, a hydroxide ion and chloride ion. This H positive, this proton immediately react with H2O and forms H3O positive. Remember that the Arrhenius concept tells us the chemistry of acids and bases in water. That is one of the drawbacks of this concept. Now the next concept that we are going to study is the Brønsted and Lowry concept. What was the need of this concept? In the Arrhenius concept, I told you its drawback. That Arrhenius concept only tells us the chemistry of acids and bases in aqueous solution. According to the Brønsted and Lowry concept, acid is a substance which donates a proton and base is a substance which accepts a proton. Now take the example of this where HCl react with NH3, it donated its proton to NH3 and converted into Cl negative ion, and NH3 turned into NH4 positive. The one which donated the proton is known as acid and the one which accepted the proton is base. Here HCl donated the proton to NH3, NH3 converted into NH4 positive and Cl negative. HCl is acid and NH3 is base because it accepted the proton. Now let us take another example in which we have H2SO4 sulfuric acid which reacts with water. H2SO4 sulfuric acid donated its proton to water. The one which donates is known as acid and the one which accepts is known as base. Remember one thing, that acid will always convert into a negatively charged species. Now this HSO4 minus bisulfate ion will act as a conjugate base and H3O positive will act as conjugate acid. Here the negatively charged species is conjugate base and positively charged species is conjugate acid. Similarly, in this example, the positively charged will be, here it is what? Conjugate acid. So it will also be conjugate acid, and the negatively charged will be conjugate base. Conjugate acid and conjugate base. Here, have a look on this reaction. Acetic acid with water react and form CH3COO negative acetate ion and H3O positive, a hydronium ion. The acid donated a proton to a base and converted into a negatively charged species. Here it gave the H positive and it became a negatively charged species. It accepted the proton and became H3O positive. Now this negative species can accept a proton and this positive one can donate a proton because it has an extra proton. So the one which donates is an acid and the one which accepts is a base. This is a conjugate base of acid, and H3O positive is a conjugate acid of a base. Let us see in another example. Here NH3 react with H2O and form NH4 positive and OH negative. This H2O donated its proton to the NH3. The one which donates is acid. The one which accepts is a base. It turned into NH4 positive and OH negative. So now this positive species can donate a proton and this negative one can accept a proton. The one which donates is an acid and the one which accepts is a base. So NH4 positive is a conjugate acid of a base, and OH negative is a conjugate base because it can now accept a proton of an acid. Now we know that acid is a substance which can donate a proton and a base is a substance which can accept a proton. Remember, mono means one and poly means many. So monoprotic acids are those acids which can donate only one proton. And polyprotic, poly means many, so acids which can donate many protons. So here are some of the examples of acids which donate one proton. This include HCl, HNO3, have a look, they have only one proton. HBr, only one proton. They all have one proton. So it can donate only one proton. These are monoprotic acids. Whereas polyprotic acids are those acids which can donate two or more protons. Have a look, H2SO4, how many protons it can donate? 2. H3PO4, how many protons it can donate? There are 3 protons which H3PO4 can donate. H2SO4 is sulfuric acid whereas H3PO4 is phosphoric acid. The next topic is amphoteric substances. What are amphoteric substances? Amphoteric substances are those substances which can act both as an acid and base. The most common example for the amphoteric substance is water. Examples of amphoteric substance which we already studied. Here water is acting as a base and in this case water is acting as an acid. So amphoteric substances are those substances which can act as a base in the presence of acid, which can act as an acid in the presence of base. In short, they can act both as an acid and a base. There are many other examples for the amphoteric substances, but the two other that I am going to discuss is the bisulfate ion and bicarbonate ion. Have a look, they both are negatively charged ions. It means that they can accept a proton. They are negatively charged, they can accept a proton. The one which accepts the proton is known as base, but they also have a proton. They can donate this proton. It means that they can also act as an acid. So they both can act as an acid and base. Lewis concept, base is a substance which donates the pair of electron and acid is a substance which accepts the pair of electron. Let us see the example here. NH3 react with acid, that is BF3, and donates its pair of electron. See, it has lone pair of electrons. It donated its lone pair of electrons to BF3. How will we know that NH3 has lone pair of electrons, or if any other substance has lone pair of electrons or not? We will study this in the Lewis structures. Till then, remember that NH3 has lone pair of electrons and BF3 accept the lone pair of electrons. Right? NH3 donated its lone pair of electrons to BF3 and formed a complex. In this case, it is a hydrogen ion and it reacts with NH3 and forms ammonium ion. Now, NH3 donated the pair of electrons to H positive. So NH3 will act as a base. The one which donates is a base in Lewis concept and the one which accepts is the acid in Lewis concept. So base is a substance that donated the pair of electrons to the acid. Here is a list of Lewis base and Lewis acids. In a nutshell, we can say that Lewis base are the substances which contain the lone pair of electrons which they can donate. Lewis base also contain species which are negatively charged. On the other hand, Lewis acids are those substances which have the tendency to accept the lone pair of electrons. And Lewis acids can also be positively charged species. If you understood the topic, then don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe my channel. If you have any question, then let me know in the comments below.